what does the science say on this topic?
Yeah, yeah. So, yes, there's a lot we can say from science, and the reason why there's a lot of truth to what science shows is that um, God has not only spoken through Scripture, which is what we would call special revelation, but God also speaks through creation, which we call general revelation. And since God is the author of both Scripture and creation, we would expect that as long as you interpret both correctly, they will be in harmony with one another. And so, obviously, the Bible teaches that homosexual sex is a violation of the way human beings are designed to function sexually. But it turns out that if you just study the science as well, without having any agenda, you'll discover that even scientifically speaking, there is a lot of evidence that shows that when a man, for example, has sex with another man, that this is a violation of the way human beings are made. So, for example, even if you are an atheist and you believe evolution is the way that human beings were created, when you study science, you discover that men and women are designed to function in a heterosexual way, meaning men are designed to have sex with women and women are designed to have sex with men. But when a man has sex with another man, what we discover when we study anatomy and physiology is that the body parts that these two men are using to engage in an act together are not made to work together. And so the language or the idea that I often talk about is called teleology. Now, teleology is just a fancy word for design or purpose. So, for example, if you're sitting in a chair, you might ask yourself, well, what is this thing? It's got legs, it's got a padded seat. Oh, okay. Based on how it's based on its parts, you can tell, oh, it's made to sit in,
Yeah.
you know? And so even if somebody didn't tell you it was a chair, you'd kind of be able to tell, what it's for. And in the same way, if you study anatomy, the body parts, you'll be able to tell that the body parts uh, of male sexual anatomy and female sexual anatomy are made to function together. In fact, everything about the male sex organ and the female sex organ tells us that they're designed to work together. Everything from the shape, from the size, from the way things change, from the fluids, from the blood flow, from the nerve endings, everything about the male and female sex organs tells us that they're designed to work together. In fact, one of the most obvious pieces of evidence that they're designed to work together is that when you bring a man and a woman together in a sexual act, they can create another human being, which is evidence that these two body parts are designed to work together. In fact, it's very interesting. The male and female sex organs are the only body system that requires another person of the opposite sex in order to achieve their ultimate function. Meaning, sperm left in a man or eggs just remaining in a woman, they will never achieve what they're ultimately made to do unless they're first brought together in a heterosexual sex act. Now, when two men engage in a sexual act, well, they're using body parts that are not made to function you can make them fit together, but they're not made to function together. So I don't want to get too graphic. I mean, I can if you want, because I teach on this. But just so you know, when you use body parts that are not made to function together, you can cause damage. So, for example, if you were to take a bicycle and remove the tires, well, Could you ride around on a bicycle with just the metal rims? Sure, you could, but it would cause damage to the rim because the rims of a bicycle are not made to operate without the tube, the soft rubber tube. In the same way, can two men engage in an act that is sexual? Sure, but again, you're going to cause damage based upon what those body parts are made to do. So that's just one example of just looking at the scientific evidence to show, oh, there's something wrong with two men engaging in a sexual act. And then Lloyd, if you were to then look also at the medical evidence about, what are some of the medical problems that men who engage in sex with other men experience, then this is a further indication, because even non-Christian medical organizations, for example, in the United States, we have an organization called the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, which is the largest health organization in the United States, and very, very powerful. And they are not Christian. And every month they produce a report about the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. And you see, men and women who have sex, or men who use drugs with needles in their arms, and you see how much, like, for example, HIV and AIDS is transmitted through these people. It's usually it's high, but when you compare it to men who have sex with men, the numbers are even higher by tenfold. So this is an indication that there's something wrong with this behavior that's causing a higher transmission rate. And it all goes back to what I was saying earlier. And that is, when men use body parts that are not designed to function together, it causes damage in their bodies and bleeding. And that bleeding is a more conducive transmitter of sexually transmitted disease. Every human being, when sperm and egg come together, are created with either XX or XY chromosomes. If you have XX, then you become female, and if you have XY, you become male. Yeah. Now, there are variations of that which are abnormal, but generally, the vast majority of every human being has either XX or XY chromosomes. And once you have a Y chromosome, that chromosome signals to the developing human embryo and fetus to develop male genitals, like penis and testicles, Whereas if you have XX chromosomes, then it signals for that body to develop ovaries, and a vagina and all these other female parts. So, but that's more about just distinguishing between males and females, and how males and females are typically created. And usually it's the chromosomes that signal to the body how to develop. So those are just some indications as to maybe just from the scientific evidence alone, there's something wrong with engaging in this kind of behavior.
Do you feel unequipped to talk to your friends about Jesus? Do you want to know more about God and His Word? Are you struggling with sin? And do you want to pursue a holy life? Then this channel is for you.